The Kick-Off Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to the Kick-Off Sports Breakfast Show with Damian on your Saturday morning, and I want to talk about the Black Ferns now, and a bit different. We can't talk to a player at the moment, but someone that is working tirelessly to profile them from A to Z. He is a good friend of mine. He is a rugby commentator and historian. He is Adam Julian. G'day, Adam.
Hey, Damian. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming on, my man. How are you doing at this time?
I'm well. Looking forward to the shackles of lockdown being released and hopefully witnessing some great footy again.
Absolutely. You're a man that loves the game, and you are very much a historian of the game, its traditions, its cultures, its honours. One thing that you've been working on recently is the Black Ferns. Can you tell us about it?
Well, the history of the Black Ferns in New Zealand has been sporadically recorded. There have been some faithful historians documenting the feats of the women's game, but there's big gaps in the narrative. And so 6 months ago, I had the good fortune of being appointed by the Rugby Union to write the A to Z of the Black Ferns. There have been 209 officially capped Black Ferns to represent New Zealand since 1989, and my job has been to research the stories of all these women who have played for New Zealand and ultimately present their biographies on allblacks.com in the same way that you would see the All Blacks presented on allblacks.com.
Why is it something that hasn't been kept up since 1989? It doesn't seem like it would have been that hard.
Well, that's a long story, and the story of women's rugby in New Zealand is really one of triumph over adversity and triumph over apathy. For a long time, women's rugby in New Zealand was the bane of the establishment.
Right.
In 1991, when the Black Ferns first attended the World Cup, they had to fundraise their own way to the tournament because it wasn't officially recognised by either the New Zealand Rugby or World Rugby. In 1994, that status was the same when World Rugby actually threatened rugby unions nationally with sanctions for sending women's teams to an officially sanctioned World Cup. It wasn't until 1998 in Amsterdam, Netherlands, prodigious rugby history there apparently, that the Women's World Cup was first recognised. And that was a turning point in New Zealand's attempt to gain acknowledgement for women playing rugby, because the Black Ferns, coached by Daryl Suasua, who really is a genius in the New Zealand rugby scene, won the World Cup in Amsterdam. They beat the USA, who were very strong at that time because it had some following in the university scene, by 44-12 in the final. And there was a woman by the name of Vanessa Coots, who's been working at the Ministry of Social Development in Hamilton for 13 years, never paid a cent to play rugby for New Zealand. She scored 5 tries in the World Cup final and 43 tries in 16 internationals. The Black Ferns turned up to this tournament, trained the house down, didn't consume alcohol, didn't consume coffee, so strict with their diet, and they really dazzled the world with their brilliance, Damian. They scored 134 points in their first game against Germany, still a world record, and what was significant about that game was it was such a fast that Germany actually led it by 6-3, and that was only after the Black Ferns passed 100. They couldn't fit the Black Ferns score on the board.
Oh, wow. Why has it taken us so long to look at the Black Ferns on this level? I mean, 5 World Cup appearances, and we've won 7 World Cup appearances, and we've won 5 of them. Well,
for a long time there was a prevailing attitude in New Zealand that rugby wasn't a women's game, and a big part of the narrative of women's rugby is the woman trying to justify their place as more than a novelty. And having talked to a lot of these women about their experiences, they didn't want to be seen as a sideshow. They wanted to be treated seriously. And if you look at some of the names in New Zealand rugby that have been involved in the Black Ferns, they're very high achievers in our society. Melody Robinson is now the head of TVNZ Sport, well-known rugby commentator. Dr. Tara Palmer was a captain in 30 internationals, only lost once on a last play try to England. She's a very prominent part of our society. Larissa Wall, who was in that 1998 World Cup team, she scored 48 tries in 32 first-class matches, and she's the MP for Tongarewa and significantly passed the same-sex election. These are women who were very persistent, very talented, and very stubborn. And ultimately, the turning point for New Zealand women's rugby was probably in 2010 when they won the World Cup final at the Stoop in London against England in front of a sold-out crowd of 15,000 people. Despite 3 yellow cards, New Zealand resisted being a professional team, essentially, by 13-10. And then 7 years later, they won the World Cup against the same opposition in spectacular style, down at half-time, won in the second half by 41-32. And Wahines, who was the loose head prop in the final game, and she scored a hat-trick in 20 minutes. And that was the catalyst for the New Zealand rugby officialdom to finally acknowledge the virtues and determination of these women, and they were paid, or at least 28 of them were, and now we have a status where it's obviously doubtful the future immediately because of the coronavirus, but it was interesting when the New Zealand Rugby Union made the decision shortly after the outbreak of COVID-19 of which competitions would take priority. The women's competition was ranked alongside the NPC as one worthy of retaining, and that would never have happened a decade ago. So that is a big triumph for the women personalities. And the other thing about women's rugby, Damian, it's a fact, and some gnarly blokes leaning on the bar in places around New Zealand might not like this, but with women's rugby is in fact the only aspect of the New Zealand game that's growing in participation.
Wow, so the women's game is growing larger than the men's. I didn't see that.
Well, the number of participants in male rugby has taken a slight drop in the last few years, whereas the number of female players has increased, and that's
Fantastic.
A reflection of the fact that the New Zealand women's sevens team have won 5 World Series, and last year embarked on a 50-match winning streak, and some of those girls are very high profile now. Sarah Hirani is a fantastic captain. Portia Wooden, who was compared to Jonah Lomu after her feat at the World Cup in 2017. She scored 8 tries in the first game against Hong Kong and 4 in the semi-final, like Jonah did at USA. So these women have a very high profile now, and they're serious athletes. And I think that's part of the reason why I was motivated to undertake this project. I love the game, whether it's men, woman, or toddlers playing it, and I wanted to learn more about this history, and the history has been a stubborn battle of perseverance to get acknowledgement, and like it or not, the women are here to stay, so we might as well embrace them.
Amazing. Hey, you would have heard a few yarns over the last 6 months talking to all these amazing talent?
Incredible stories, Damian, and the thing about women is they like to talk more than men, so you tend to get a more open, honest and vibrant answer from them in regards to the reflections of their career. There have been a lot of amazing stories, but perhaps the most extraordinary story I've heard, which really epitomises the attitude of the Black Ferns and how seriously they take international sport. In 2005, there was a fullback playing against Canada by the name of Stacey Lenny, and tragically from Ottawa, she got a message from her family in Auckland notifying her of the fact that her 10-month-old nephew had died. And they offered Stacey the choice of leaving the tour early or playing the test match against Canada a couple of days later. And she consulted her family and decided after much conjecture to play the test match. So prior to the game, she autographed the name of the nephew on her boot, and in the second half scored a try in the game, gestured to the heavens to acknowledge this passing, rushed back to the airport in Auckland for the funeral, and then buried the baby in her Black Ferns jersey from that test. Beautiful sentiment there, and such is the competitiveness of the Black Ferns as well. In 2006, they went to the World Cup in the same country, Canada, beat England 25-17 in the final in Edmonton. Lenny wasn't a part of the squad. That test was her last.
Hey, mate, where to next with this? There's a lot of changes at the New Zealand Rugby Union at the moment, and has this stalled, or are you continuing it?
Well, I'm about 2/3 of the way through the project, 80,000 words. I was being paid a generous retainer. That's now vanished because of COVID-19. Hello, anybody out there listening that likes me. I hope to finish it, and I'm determined to finish it because I think it's that all rugby fans, whether they're New Zealand fans or international rugby fans, should know about, because the Blacks, just like the All Blacks, have set a level of achievement that has advanced the game of women's rugby and reflected New Zealand positively on a world stage.
Oh, we might have to start a GoFundMe page for you, mate, because I couldn't think of a better person to be doing it. So really hope that you do get to finish that last third of it. And if there is anyone listening out there, Adam Julian is his name, and he will do a stellar job. Quick question, Adam, because I'm going to put you on the spot here. I know we're here talking Black Ferns, but we are celebrating 25 seasons of the Hurricanes as well. And I know you know a bit about everything. So today's guests are Rodney Soialo and Thomas Waldrum. Have you got a story on either?
Well, Thomas Waldrum was born on the 28th of April,
That's
which
cheap.
is my birthday.
Yeah.
And Andrew Mertens was born on the same day as well. But in terms of my birthday being the same as Thomas Waldrum's birthday, that's where the similarities end. Rodney Soialo, I remember from a personal point of view, when he was a very prominent member of the Hurricanes and later an All Black captain. I had a job briefly at Julian. I was running the after-school care upstairs and could have thrown me in the water. And Rodney used to take his baby along to swim, and he was always so personable with our very excited kids who would see Rodney come in and they'd congregate around Rodney for a high five, for an autograph, for a photograph, and he always gave his time. And, of course, Rodney has moved on to be a prominent coach. He's involved in the Wellington under-19s for a while. I had a little bit to do with them, and I've always found Rodney very personable and fine man. So that's my story about Rodney Soialo.
Well, thank you for your time today, my man. I can't wait to catch up sooner than later. And all the best with this project. Anybody listening, get behind Adam. He is the best man for this job. Thank you for your time, my man.
Take care. All the best.